3:49 p.m. January 22nd, 2019. Xbox. I'm just sitting here talking to the dog, and the Xbox just turned itself on. I'm waiting right now to see what kind of boot it was and to see if it was actually started maybe by a systematical update, even though usually it won't start itself as far as starting itself up. But the box itself, nothing around it. I couldn't have bumped it because there's this here. There's almost impossible. You got a cable here. I wasn't even there anyhow, so don't even need to explain that part. The remote's over here. Couldn't have sat down on it and accidentally pressed buttons. Everything's in the clear. It just did it itself. So what is up with that so far? Um, Here in a second. I'll find out. I'm gonna go look at the update screen. Even though I'm gonna also make sure Xbox says the Xbox shouldn't turn itself on or come out of sleep mode after an update. I don't think a full-blown restart maybe, but even still, it shouldn't restart itself without user input. Correct? So, dang, what was the ordeal over here? Updates and downloads. Latest update. Last updated 1/19/2019, 4 days ago. Update successful. Now, I haven't had the Xbox on for maybe, there's only been a couple of times in the last 30 days that it's been on, if even that. I would even say just a couple. In the last 30 days being on. Maybe go 3-4 times, but either way, not very often. Hadn't had it on, didn't turn it on in the last week for at least. So we'll have to find out Xbox starting itself and then whatnot. If not, electronic jamming is what I'm getting into. Reason why I'm carrying this out. Electronic jamming, but that's not jamming. That's complete electronic interference. Enabling, disabling functionality, interfering to the point it's taken control of the device. Any device. I've had plenty. DVR systems, home security systems, laptops, tablets, all the rest. Did I call in on all those stuff in the past? Yes. The home security system, they couldn't explain it. They couldn't even have a technician explain it. They was going to try to report it to the FCC. So that's the only way that they could. They could put in a. They never got back to me, but that's the way they said they would pursue it. They would put in a situation to the FCC to see if they could figure out what the problem was. More than likely, some type of jamming or interference locally, which would be an external device because nobody was living here per se at the time of that situation and incidences. Even though it's a difficult situation, but at the moment, for at least a few months, nobody except for myself was here. So that was back in 2013 and 14 era. That was been quite a bit some time ago. Non-stop, same thing. Gang banging, all with them enforcing that they have some type of lawful right to do it, and they've done it for well over 15 years. So it's not an investigation. The legal right is what? Enforcing that they're trying to make it out that I'm mentally retarded. I don't have a right to life. Their people own my ass. And that's the end of it. We'll do whatever we want. What you gonna do? Cry like a baby because your device ain't working? Slowing the device down to where the optimal performance ain't nothing but a sluggish computer from the 1980s. And that's what your retarded people get. You're not allowed to work with the same stuff, basically, is what they're enforcing on some of it, with what us normal people are allowed to work with. You don't have the privilege to. You're mentally retarded, you obey us. Nobody stepped in. They've gotten systematical sabotage situations to where I had to fight with system to get system overturned to find out the system that was threatening me or enforcing or trying to make it out that these people were right were actually misconducted illegally saying the stuff and wrongfully enforcing and backing their stuff. Years later, on top, if there's an incident, I would go back after finding one incident from one place, going back over another incident, calling out to that place and finding out after speaking to staff when it's been 3 years later instead of immediate and spontaneous call, not that it was planned or anything else, so nobody could interfere with that interception of the phone calls. But being told hell no kind of situation, you're 100% right. That would have been illegal criminally, not even just, administratively, to discipline the person. It would have been a criminal act those people were enacting with. And the county could have been held reliable for that situation, I believe. That was St. Petersburg, Florida. And there is some things that went on with Park that I was never a client with or a patient, but these people try to, while they're stalking, try to fill in police-oriented jobs, mental health, basically a full-blown systematical controlment. Now the thing is I kind of messed their situation up by going back, traveling out and going back. It kind of stumped them for stalking and their systematical reasoning that they have to be there. Jamming them up, situational like, happens, and that's when the proof starts to pour out, and then they got people that cover their ass, or they know how to cover their ass through loopholes, to where you have to basically paper chase them down to get anything out of it, and when you're poor, you don't have the money, the time, and they take advantage of that situation, if not try, just like it's happened to me, completely trying to physically, mentally disable me. Right now I am, and I will not deny it. I won't say not capacitated enough to live, but there is something that has affected me to the point I've lost brain power, intelligent power, mental thought processing ability power. It does change when I leave Columbus, Ohio here. They all keep pointing the finger back here to Columbus, Ohio. And when I mean they all, over the years, last 20 years I've traveled, there's every single place that I've been in has had some type of white car parked outside with an antenna. Has had the finger pointed here at Columbus, Ohio, and the people from here. Like there's something that I've done or whatnot, and they've been investigating. Investigations don't go on that long for minor stuff. Major stuff, yes, and the major stuff would have already had to have been exposed. And when they're exposing stuff, when the situation started, they've added stuff in. There's things that have happened in between, but now they're utilizing, well, we don't need the old stuff, the new stuff's just as good. And basically where they sabotaged and set up situations, perjurized, lied, and got new systematical representation, because basically I did, even not capacitated fully and no abilities at all, was still making complaints, and it was affecting them. It was jamming their system up. These guys are on drugs. They're doing whatever they can, trying to play out United States lawfulization while they're breaking the United States itself. Look at what we can do that has nothing to do with the United States of drug use type of situation. Even if we are law enforcement, we're allowed to do whatever we want to type of situation. And on top, so what? Fuck your America, and behind the back, in front of, rather than in front of people's faces, is completely different. Of we will control the United States type of situation. So, anyways, we'll have to check into this update, but it wouldn't matter. There's so many which one is which now. I would have to have an oscillator and proof for myself to figure out which one is which. What jamming is which jamming. Put it this way, I got a brand new tablet. The tablet started failing out. It had situations where I read a description online of some of the bad reviews. Some people got a bad product, broke, and they was replaced. And when they was replaced, either viewer never recommented or reviewed it, or they recommented back, okay, the new one works fine. The exact stuff that I read online for the tablet that I got is exactly what I got for the tablet itself. Broken keys, or where you push a key down because it has a keyboard to it. The key doesn't press the R button. The thing was sluggish, real sluggish, to where it kept crashing, sort of. Basically, you couldn't almost use it, where it's like an old 1980s computer. Weird thing is I got mad, and I was out and about mad and trying to get, I don't know if it was FCC agents on top of agents trying to enforce, because they're making it out that they now it's police involved. You're just a nutcase. You don't understand that bullshit. You didn't identify yourself. There's no paperwork in the system for these guys to have the legal right to alterate, obtain information off my devices, stuff like that. Even interference, no matter what it is. Let's not just go into data theft. Let's just go into the interference itself. They have no paperwork as far as representable that they have a right to do that to me. But anyhow, they're the government. They have a right at any time to do whatever. Da da da. Okay, whatever. Guess I have to get another lawyer, and on top, I get a lawyer, they tell me, no, you're in the right, but at the same time, now we need to go back over the incidences, or basically the old incidences that you don't have proof for, even though you know Hartley, and everybody else knows Hartley that it's real, don't apply to shit because we can't prove it. I've already been told that. The evidence needs to be collected at the moment and actually have some type of evidence to it, merit. But anyways, with the tablet itself, as I was out with that complaint, what I was going to carry into is I don't know who authorized it, but the tablet started working at peak performance. And it worked for a minute. So did the cell phones that I had. So did the programs. Everything was speedy again. Everything was operational. There was no disconnections, no complications. It was great experience, even though it only lasted 10 to 20 minutes per se. But after that, you hear the murmurs of these others. And these others, there's one major remark I will put into this. There is a lot of homosexual connection amongst all of them. And I'm not trying to put them down, even though back in the day it was a laugh not to put it out that way, because there's a lot of social view with it of, they're just acting like, bullied fags, or not to put it that way. I didn't want to quite defamate, and I don't want to be able to have somebody discriminate or disrespect or disapprove of the comment that I just made, because that was what was said, and that was basically back then, like law enforcement understands, the only way that I could explain what was going on. Back then, that was the terminology that I had to explain. I won't say I wasn't intelligent. I didn't know the word fag was discriminative back then like it is today, supposedly. But I'm not going to even recognize that, because I'm not sure, depending on what state, what situation it is. It depends on how you explain it. But anyways, bullied fags. And they're utilizing homosexual connectivity, just like a gang ring, and recruiting people. Homosexual organized crime is what it's been dubbed, and it's been dubbed that way at the minimum since 2015. I was out in New York City. There's other gay people that walked out and said, I'm being gay mobbed against. Not them walking out and threatening that they're a part of it, them taking recognition to it. Because I'm not gay, I'm heterosexual, and they're like, that's messed up for them to apply. Basically, there is a mental mind situation of sexual abuse, assaultive tactics going on also. So it's not just me saying, well, I think because they're gay, I don't like them, or I'm disagreeing, and that's my problem. On top of everything, they're intentionally mind-working the situation. Homosexual organized crime with a whole set and slew, somebody else is understanding. The officers, the police, the administrative force that I'm dealing with, all kinds of shit. Isn't it funny? All of them are bisexual. Transgender is a major situation. Gay in some way, or have gay family that they're supporting in some certain way. And these people is starting to get caught up that it's associated basically a ton of the problems and the orchestration, and you wouldn't believe how much group effort. They even have gang members they've recruited, just like an organized criminalization. They have sourced themselves out, and they got external sources that are helping them. Who gives a damn? Because they don't give a damn. Even if they get proven slapped on the wrist, alleviated from a job, but they still have the intel, the education behind it, and was allowed to do it. But anyways, to enforce and wrongfully, unlawfully enforce it. But yes, that is one of the main points that I'm going to end this video with. But as far as the video itself, Xbox just started itself up all by itself. There's wires in between me accidentally bumping it. If I would have bumped it, the other stuff would have fell before I bumped it. The remote is completely in a cubby hole. I couldn't have sat down on a remote. It just seemed to wanted to update and start it, or start itself. Now, 100% positive it ain't an update? No, not sure. As far as I know, when it's in off or sleep mode, that it will not update or restart itself without user confirmation type of situation. It wouldn't turn itself on. That'd be illegal. What I would believe is illegal situation, because it's sitting there, consuming power without my acknowledgement, to a point, maybe, and this just test basis. I'm not 100% positive on that, but kind of close to it with ideal range, I'd say. Also, that it would be operating itself without a user being behind it completely. There are situations like a computer that's set for 3 days and it'll restart itself and all that good stuff. But the Xbox itself, that kind of device and the way it works, I believe it needs user input. It's different than a computer itself. So, anyways, ending this video and more electronic. You got to see the startup of that. I couldn't, too bad I wasn't filming something and it just happened to turn itself on. There's another situation of all the electronics here. You've seen the DVR system. I aimed the camera there to see the white car. Hopefully the white car, even a blemish of it going by, had a black antenna on the back. Somebody either trying to enforce that they got the county involved here. The county's corrupt also. Like I said, they've all pointed, and when I mean all, there's state officials, there's state people, police. There is agents of certain border patrol when I was down in towards Mexico, and they all kept mentioning something from Columbus, Ohio, and them dirty people being nasty, wrongful, misconductive, trying to assault, legally assault, systematically assault, and it was caught up. If I wouldn't have stood against it, and there's a lot of things that I didn't, basically like trying to force confession of something I didn't do type of situation, or you accept this, here you went to jail for something you didn't do, or you're being persecuted and accused of situations because we just want to wreck the problem so we can abuse our authority. And to show the rest of the United States we can cross state lines with the authority that we got. Basically challenging American law per se, trying to show force and utilizing me as the pun off to show that force. Even if the force was real, I'm still the targeted individual that they are using to get their ideal and their situation out. To use me as the key piece, the targeted individual, to push the situation onto other people. So, yeah, there's a lot of tie-in stuff. Rambling on now, but everything here, there's cameras that restarted themselves within the same area as the Xbox, but it doesn't matter. I've been externally outside the house. I've had full-blown device failures, cameras flipping themselves upside down. What I understand and what I called in when I got the information, that's firmware alteration. And without touching the phone, it'd be an external device that has the ability to steal data at the least, but alterate firmware. They would take the software off the chip, or they would already know the chip make, or they already knew the chip make and how to alterate video card information, jamming the video card, alterating the firmware to where the firmware would tell the phone how to show up on the screen type of situation. The software that operated the phone, that way the operation would be directly from the software. You couldn't track it to a point, because it would tell you, it wouldn't be oscillator. The phone would be programmed without the device. It takes 5 seconds for the device per se to alterate the phone, and then you walk around with an alterated phone, basically hacked, a virus type of situation, but you didn't download it. It was done remotely from a remote device. Anyways, so yeah, I had all that. It's been going on since the first phone, and the videos and the video libraries that I've had since 2011. I figured I finally got another phone back. I had a video phone, and it was stolen from me. It was stolen, and it was in Colorado Springs, and they're saying it was people who worked with inside the public defender's office, the legal system. They was out the night that I was out, got drunk, and targeted my ass. And I swear to God, there's other people that would be standing right here that was back in them days that swore to God that's the end of it, because now you have the systematical assault. Those people were here. They was talking about taking your phone, situations paying off to get your phone because I was snapping videos and photos like I should, trying to build evidence. That was in 2007. The phone came up missing. I couldn't replace it, put it that way. And trying to replace it, like they got in my way of having it replaced. I didn't have money back then. The phone was given to me. So they also knew that it'd complicate me of obtaining another phone or ability to record video and audio externally. That's the public defender's office and like Associated District Attorney's office. And one, they was out drinking alcohol. They wasn't there investigating, and they understood the situation and intentionally targeted me for my phone also. The thing with targeting me for my phone is there's a situation with the mayor back then, or back in 2004, of a stolen phone that I received somehow. And I only received it for a day or two. I got rid of it. I was trying to check into it to see if it was a legitimate phone to use per se. It was not in my possession, even though it doesn't matter. As soon as it's in your possession, if it's stolen or anything else, that's your fault for not checking it out before you acquired it. See, I'm in the mind state of checking it out and trying to see if it's bad, and if so, turn it in. Situation with that happening is the cell phone all of a sudden came up missing within the 2 days that I had it, literally. Like somebody stole that bitch, or whoever had it. It was a mayor's cell phone with senators' numbers in it. Now we're going to United States situation to where there's senators out there that was in that phone. They're trying to erect, that's a security breach and he breached it. Now there's a little more to it, but no matter what, for a person that doesn't have the capabilities, while being deemed I don't have capabilities, and then somebody else orchestrating the power that my capabilities could harm somebody. You just used all of this power prior to that I'm dysfunctional, I'm mentally retarded, I'm not like your kind, I don't have the capabilities, and then backfire on that to utilize me like a targeted individual, even if I was mentally retarded, for your systematical pleasure of how you can gameplay with the system, of all of a sudden my capabilities, the possibilities that could have came by me having senators' phone numbers, National Intelligence Committee stuff. This mayor was connected to a lot of different things. It was Colorado Springs. There's all kinds of militarized people around there, and these people outright abusing a situation. It would be no different than me per se snatching the mayor's cell phone from him and throwing it in your car, and it being tracked down to you somehow or some way, and then them blaming because of the possibility that you could cause threat to the United States, threat to them, that they want to enact and enforce all of this stuff against you. And it's not even really your fault. For myself, I have to take the second view. Yes, it is my fault. I took the phone. I had it in my possession. I was checking it out, and I did not understand the ruling of once it's in your possession, it doesn't matter situation. I was always taught to check things out, and I guess I messed up to the point that I couldn't realize that I was already in possession of the phone, which would be acquiring of stolen goods. But just like I do everything up, most of the stuff that I get, just like eBay, I do videos of all my products. Always check out if I have bought something, if it ain't directly from a store, call the police, get a serial number, check into databases, whatnot. But that gets sometimes time consuming, and sometimes I would have to say I might overlook it for a couple of days or even a week or something like that, and then get back into it, because it's, I won't say non-important. It ain't like I did a drug deal. It ain't like I did this or that. But that's not the proper way, because that was also criticized. Ha 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 ha. That's the type of harsh criticism. There's no favor on my side. All against. Intentionally, so they could abuse the powers of what they have to show enforcement, utilizing me as the, the mascot, but not even just mascot. Just, what am I thinking of? The word for that. The person that they utilize to show off the effect, just like a judge making a sentence, and you're going to be the person that we show the system how this works for the others that might try to commit a crime or some dumb situation. I can't think, it just slipped my mind. And that's another thing, the psychological assault, the power behind all this stuff, the duress and all that stuff, caused mental damage. That's for damn sure. You can talk to a psychologist. It could cause PTSD. That's mental damage. That is causable. Schizophrenia stuff ain't causable. The situation that they was doing, like I said, there was expressions of the duress, and they should be able to see that and not apply so hard to the point somebody collapses. But no, who cares? You're a criminal to us. It doesn't matter. We'll do what we want to and enforce this. You are the fall off guy. That's the end of it. Anyways, that's just with electronic jamming and data theft. A lot of that is what it is. A lot of that is, it turns into, that's still assault. That's straight ass systematic assault. Excuse the lingo. But people thinking, well, there's much harsher things that's happened. That's because I ain't talked about them in these videos. You got government involved. You want to play with implants? I guarantee that I'm implanted lawfully or unlawfully. There's an implant in my body. I was probated off of saying such to family members. The family members, it backfired on them, and I was told by the system it's my family. Partially, at least in the certain extent of them being standing up, they're not trustworthy, valuable. They're nothing. They are my enemies. Somebody, at least a single family member around me that had been around me when I was talking to them, they said are so toxic, is a complete dud bad family member. They've done nothing and intentionally done nothing, and we'll warn you because we find it being assaultive to you rather than it being protective or systematically representable to cause action against you. The intentions of their actions was to assault with, so we're warning you that they are intentionally trying to assault you. The same thing that happened in Colorado Springs. A lot of different things, and I'll carry out with them stories, but a lot of stories that carry out. Police came to me and told me they got the perjury, they got people trying to lie, they sabotaged, set me up systematically. There were systematical affairs, at which point, who would believe that? When I was just talking about public defenders and district attorney agents or whatever, prosecutors sitting out in public trying to snatch my cell phone from me. Antics, and also trying to play their antics, and did get the cell phone. They didn't try, they did. I got intoxicated, and they took advantage of that also. They love that, intoxicating a person. Like, almost what would be understood, they like playing around with CIA stuff. Movie-styled CIA, James Bond, Intel, and the old stuff. There was an old TV show back in 2006-07 era where they would always be getting drunk. They was talking about the Cold War type of situation. It went on for, I think, a year for the TV series, and then it was over with. Had Aldrich Ames in it and stuff like that. The ex-old CIA flip and all the stuff. But they like playing around with that stuff. That's systematical abuse from the superiors that you think are superior standing grounds for you. And they're in here standing grounds. They're just as dumb as you are to certain points and want to play with something that they don't understand, or they want to play with something that they do understand, but they see the mass power behind it, and they're playing with it. And that's what it comes down to. It's not even just play. It's still, that play is also still assaultive. They're physically, mentally, systematically utilizing it. That even though it's play to them, thrilling, just like the mental health system from the county agencies understood what I'm trying to get to. Give me some support here of thrilling, the benefit of even just thrilling off of it, even if they didn't make money from it. The social associations, the acceptability of others, accepting them, thrilling that, making them feel good, is compensation enough for what they're doing, besides probably getting paid in behind the back somehow, or creating a fund financial income from it in a certain way. With that being said, wow, went into a whole lot of different things there, all over an Xbox starting itself up by itself, but I need to get this stuff out there. And then also, I've had proof. I had people that volunteered osculators to a point just for representable face value of saying, no, you're right, you need to go get a lawyer, or you need to get, I can't help you as far as that. It's going to take some funds, and I was broke, I'm homeless, and them complicating me from getting a job and everything else, and the systematical assault, the social assaults, the disgracing, the put down, the making everybody feel that I don't have a right to life. And now, because what even the system says, they break you down so much, it's a possibility that you kind of lose your right to life, because now you're not systematically functional, which would be a federal offense of them breaking somebody from being able to constitutionally stand their constitutional values because they wanted to enforce what they did. That even applies to the government. Anyhow, With that being said, I couldn't get a job, but the people that helped out, perfectly good strangers, or people knowing that what's going on, or they was out and about detecting, and I had a detective investigating another case of something similar of mob-styled harassment against another individual in New York, and just straight ass looked at me. He had cameras filming these guys stalking another person and said, "It's fucking crazy. You're being stalked too, right behind my back, walking around me. There should be only, maybe you would think, one case going on as severe as that, but my case was exactly scared the shit out of him because my stalkers are watching him. More or less, they'll come together and tell the other person's stalkers, which put them in jeopardy. It was a major wall mash type of situation, a full-blown head-on wall hit, boom, holy shit." And as he's filming, he's trying to tell me, you need equipment. You would need to get equipment like this really quick. And it was just stupid how it was, because it's non-convincing that a perfectly good stranger, a detective, more than likely private detective, would just start blowing stuff off like that. The system has criticized me mental health wise. That's just improper. Well, New York City is see something, say something status. If it's used properly, you got perfectly good strangers to walk up and tell you there's somebody that's been following you around, or somebody's been messing with you for weeks in the community. It wasn't happening before, and all of a sudden it's happening now. It's happened. It all of a sudden, this incident and the incursions and whatnot just started happening as you showed up in this community. Either being homeless or whatever, me traveling around, staying in whatever community, or whatever area I visit daily, the people recognizing daily that there's something new, or something new has been added that was not there prior to me showing up, or whatever it be. Just coincidental, not coincidental, definite mind understanding, social, mental understanding, there is something going on. Now, you got law enforcement. They've also pushed back, like, I don't have an ability. I'm the law. I'll tell you how it works. I had to call internal affairs to find out those officers lied, which is misconduct, especially when it's out of the advisable and advice situation, because they couldn't be held to it. But when it comes into a legal situation and there was legal matter enough to say it was a legal situation and they misinformed, that's misconduction on their part. Anyways, but yeah, like a bunch of strangers, this, that, those. How can somebody ridicule me when it's happened, not even just with one person, but multitudes of people? And try to socially, systematically, mentally tell me that I'm unsound minded or whatnot. And some of that is partially true, because it's been proven with PTSD, somebody causing and triggering and mental and psychological assault. That's what it consists of. So you can't deny it. If I'm going to accept I'm being assaulted or harassed, I'm going to have to accept that the mind state itself's been messed up, altered. It ain't as normal as a normal person. That's the reason why it's assault. Anyways, with that being said, there's tons of stuff for those who want to get into. You think you're being targeted, wait until I come around you. The thing is they'll utilize that it's systematically okay. I'm under investigation, which there are some things that I could be under investigation for, but like this senator cell phone, mayor cell phone situation, bullshit. Plus, it's been 15 years ago. You would think, and what would be orchestrated by United States good working system, it wouldn't have taken them no more than a month, if even that, even if you gave it an exception of 6 months, if there's a statute of limitations funding for them to investigate me over bullshit they wanted to create. They're spending taxpayers' dollars illegally. You created a situation, okay, you drawn a lot of concern, and that's fine because of terrorist acts. Cool, I can understand you draw into it real hard to just make sure. But 15 years later, no. No paperwork in my situation that has anything that says this has happened. Only my word for it, and a lot of other people understand my word's good enough to say, hey, at least they know the situation happened. It's good enough to stand for most of the ability. Maybe not be legal and lawful, and I may be wrong myself. Just like obtaining a phone and thinking, well, I'll check into it. If it's stolen, I'll turn it in and whatnot. Or whatnot, receiving stolen goods without realizing. And it's a lot of people do it. I won't even give myself the excuse though. But overlooking, no, once you receive the phone, it's in your possession. The deal's done. that's receiving stolen property or obtaining, if it wasn't reported stolen as of just yet, someone trying to give it to me as if it was their phone and they didn't need it anymore because they seen that I needed it more than they did type of situation and whatnot. So gifted type of ideal, but the gift turned into a sour situation. I'll explain that a little bit later differently, but with the ideal range of that being it, no matter what the ideal range of how much they get to enforce governmentally. Now you got government, FBI, which I'm going to say once again, Colorado Springs 2006-7 era, roughly. I'll even go to end of 2005, turned into 2006, maybe a month or two prior to that. And then 2006, and basically some things ended in 2006, but the investigations were already done. There's crackdowns on mental health, there's crackdowns on law enforcement, and when I mean crackdown law enforcement, we're not talking about street cops doing this and all that. It is that, but there's also FBI, district attorneys, public defenders, judges, the whole fucking nine works, excuse the lingo. And that's how serious, and I didn't want to say that so harsh like that. Anyways, but mass amount of stuff. Internal affairs. I'm not the only one that was making the complaints. Like somebody tried to decry. It seems to only be you. You don't have any proof anybody else is doing it. Well, that's because I don't have access to your records like they supposed to have, that they're misutilizing anyhow, to figure out who made the complaint. But it showed up in the newspaper. It was a whole full-blown news story. It was on the news, finally. There's all kinds of stuff that happened. And all of that belittling of... you can't keep doing this. There's no proof, or even if you're one single case, so what? It ain't gonna add up. Well, it added up. And all that belittling, guess what? It wasn't paid back, but they couldn't do it no more, which was triumphal for myself to know. I'd straight ass walk on top of them too, the way they walked on top of me, and basically told them no contact. Your mental health, that's misconduction, and you want to try to force authority onto me because you have that authority signed to you by the county or state. I'm pitting it out to the county and state just socially and through a little bit of systematical stuff out there that no, they misconducted. They can't take care of their business. They don't need to be obtaining to mine. Anyways, and it needs to be looked into because it's a possibility that could help somebody else out. You get the right lawyer, figure out what state you're in, cities, stuff like that. It's always getting information legally to legally fight back, but that legal situation is also taking that step forward and saying, I'm pitting a stop to this. Thing is you're pitting a stop. Some people believe pitting a stop to things they want, sometimes you can't get. You might have to move. You really might have to move. The situation might have alterated, and that sucks. It's always stay fighting, but don't stay fighting to the point like I did and am doing still, dying from it. Even though my situation, I moved, I traveled, they stalked. That's a whole lot different than having a communal problem where you're at, not ever moving, or haven't moved in years. I won't even say years, decades, something like that you stuck around and you haven't tried to get away from the situation. It's just like domestic violence. It's practically almost the same thing to a point. Of, you got an abuser, get away from them. Some people are like me, you're stuck. And I'm not trying to put this video out for people. This is personally for myself, but also to inform other people how things work. But there's people that's stuck. That's why they have support groups out there for a lot of different things, to help other people that are stuck. Even though the system, that's the bad thing, part of a system that's working, ridiculing and completely crushing you worse than the people who are victimizing you. With that, it's your fault, you're not mentally strong enough, then you need to go seek help, and we are the help, but we need to tell you what to do type of situation. When you get into lawful law enforcement, that's not freedom for you, independence, and your rights to understand how to control life in a enjoyable, quality manner. It seems to be more enforceable, overtaking situation. With that being said, hopefully it doesn't reflect back onto me a bunch of corruption again, reflecting, but I won't say I don't care right now. because I have to care if I'm going to say I'm going to stand against it, and I'm afraid of these people, and I'm afraid of the systematical power that they've utilized to do so. But anyhow, just making sure that I kind of state that I am still in fear, but I'm trying to stand strong. Trying to stand strong, another mental health situation. Well, really, if we attribute this or analyze that and our say so, we'll tell you that's not right. Or we can go ahead and prove it amongst all doctors. That's this situation. We're not always applying a negative to something trying to be worked positive. With that situation being done and said, I'm going to end this video because now it's starting to get into a bunch of rambling. But all of this over an Xbox. Xbox One. Older version, probably 2015. Not to get into all the specs. But 2016. Anyways, just turning itself on. It's a possibility. There's updates. And I'm almost sure, though, the updates are not supposed to turn the Xbox on or restart it if the user does not confirm to it per se, or it does it silently, but it would not have turned itself on. Last update check was at 3:16 a.m. Usually I think it's 24 hours if the Xbox is untouched and it's in sleep mode. Means it's not fully off, it's in sleep mode. It'll automatically update itself. So that's giving it some time there. I'm gonna have to look into it to see what's up with it. And hopefully I ain't completely in the wrong, but see, here's the thing. Oh no, the Xbox did this, and I've been out proven that the situation happens. Everything over here, even the bad family members I had, are saying, nope, somebody else is messing with stuff. You see the little glowy light up here? That's a camera. It started offsetting itself. They're playing around with that. I had a security system on top, a home security system here. Even the system and the company, the cable company, the security company, though, that offered that for the door protection, window protection type of situation, said there was something wrong, that they'd be contacting external sources for it because they couldn't discover it. If they can't understand it, there is a definite breach, period. It's a breach. These guys running their mouth across the street and around the community, all the rest, the home security DVR systems, cameras trying to fell out, DVR hard drives falling out, computers falling out, every electronic falling out, and on top, 100%. I know for sure I'll put my backing behind somebody if I got an electronic jam reader from a shop or whatnot, that it'd be 100% proved that my stuff was at least being interfered with. Not just jammed to the point can't make phone calls, completely interfered with, either altering the software, but getting the first step of at least you can see the interference. The weird thing with that is law enforcement in other states, other cities that I've been around that I did have a cell phone and called the police on, they had access to and the ability immediately to bring those devices out and to see if the cell phone or if there's something going on around my cell phone. And they affirmed 100% while I was hiking on this highway that yes, somebody was jamming my stuff. They don't know where it's coming from. They didn't bring out the right device reader to figure out the FCC ID number that's supposedly transmitted with the device that would be jamming and interfering with my phone. Put me in a car, drove me down the street, and the signal broke, and I was able to reutilize my cell phone. The weird thing is there's a difference between signal jamming for cell phone and complete obliteration, operational interference of the cell phone. The cell phone jamming and signal jamming happens a whole lot per se. They've been cutting down on it. The functionality of a cell phone being interfered with is a whole lot different, or any electronic device. We're talking heaters, electric boxes, washers, dryers, thermostats, microwaves, having a magnetized look like a screen, like you stuck a magnet up to the screen. That's happened for years and years, off and on. Electrical problems, doubtful. Guarantee it's not electrical problems because you can affirm 100%, even with law enforcement, even though I don't have the paperwork for that. And it's been so long, a lot of times you like, well, the system still has the paperwork from 10 to 15 years ago, and they dump their stuff. They dump their stuff every 2.5 years, and people don't know it. In certain circumstances, certain places, whatnot. If it's not an important situation, the paper itself, and even in the system itself, they just dump it. It's not important, wasn't progressed, doesn't mean, and the statute of limitations means there's no way or an ability for somebody to progress it, then it just does not need to stay in the system, and they dump the information. Anyways, which is scary as shit. We're all told that they can go background checks, and, we have all this TV affiliated. They can go down and look what books I rented at the library when I was 12 type of situation. And, nah. That's just a bad remark, but at the same time, stereotype situations, and some of that stereotype we try to feed on to help ourselves feel better about how the system should work, and it's only stereotype situations and a big letdown. Put it that way. I'm going to go ahead and end this video like I said, and hopefully I can look into, and I will get back. I will make a description update, or I will edit the video maybe and apply or put a second link to the information I found out. The time and date is on this, and I will be trying to contact Microsoft and trying to see if I can't get logs of why the Xbox restarted itself or turned itself on. It was in sleep mode and turned itself on. And while something else was happening, while I'm also having minor under-the-breath verbalization of, hey, buddy, hey, what you doing, dog, bitch, what? Harsh verbal harassment. And then they like playing the situation, all I was doing is making a sound. Well, sounds, even if it ain't full-blown verbalization, sounds could be and is considered verbal harassment when found out being harassable. Here in Franklin County anyhow, and elsewhere. I mean, I've had it elsewhere. It's the same individuals. I don't want to, I said when to end this video, put it this way, I'm so in fear because the same individuals that somehow just intentionally moved their shop, their people, in across the street from my dead grandfather's house, that willed the house out or whatever, tried to pass it down to the family, put it back into the family. I came back here, blah, 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 I'm family. Standing in the house, and they just so happened to move across the street. They got busted in Florida State. One, smoking dope, trying to enforce law while they're not even in police cruiser. They wasn't lawful. Community actions. You're getting stoned enforcing community actions, thrilling off of, look what I get away with while I punk your ass. And the cops involve themselves in that one. On top of them trying to enforce, they have the officer situation. Can you identify yourself? I don't have to give my identification situation. But in Florida State, marijuana was freaking illegal back then, if not harshly illegal. Very illegal. And the cop's like, I have probable cause because you're fucking smoking marijuana, stupid. You're trying to, and basically, wait a minute, are you an off-duty cop or you're trained law enforcement? Because the way you're acting is you're trying to take control of the situation with some type of educatable situation of X-training. Trying to punk me too. The same punks utilizing religious value. Religical. If you're not this type of religion, you need to get out of our community. Or you need to be a better person. Communal affairs of proper... manners, conduction in the community. Our community works, or this community. We can enforce this community to work in a certain manner to where how they basically dress and act and all the rest of the stuff. If you don't have a religious background, then we get to do this to you. We out-dominate you. We outnumber you, all the rest. And some of it, in certain places, is legal for them to do that. Making up laws to where dress code or any place has ability of how a person acts, how they socialize, or the ability for others to utilize a decry against the other person in the community to partially not just help them out, but to state their own value in life. That, hey, I'm Christian, it's not that I'm better than you, but those are my values. To be able to express their values. They're in here trying to utilize, they have the freedom of right of speech to express their values in an assaultive situation. And I've broken the same situation myself. I'm not going to deny it. But the way that they're doing it is mob-styled, stalking, traveling across the United States, targeting me. So, a lot of different than just trying to apply it to a person, or even if it was intentional wrong or doing it yourself, one-time situation is a whole lot different than it being repetitive. And even the system, the mental health system, legalized systems, all these systems have all affirmed the same thing. they're repetitive as stalking, or it's repetitive. It's a lot different than a minor single incident, or just even being, it's not a minor situation. But I need to provide evidence and proof, have witnesses. I don't have any friends. All the people that come around me, one, I become mentally unstable to a point of, I'm not normally social. I was like a social personality disorder type of situation. But they also looked into, like I said in the past of this video, PTSD, which can be caused to a person. Post-stress traumatic, I think it is. Post-stress traumatic disorder. I was always told mental health is not contagious, but PTSD kind of is. You can call somebody to have it. And at which point, that's what I was explaining to the system. They want more evidence, but at the same time, misdiagnosis on myself. But just saying, causing a personality disorder, and myself, having a situation to where I won't say I'm unlikable, but most people, I'm not normal anymore as most people. As most socializable type of people. I've been held captive. I've been entrapped. I haven't had outside contacts, kind of, sort of, trying to get that way. But then they've also applied that they have some lawfulization rights and bad accusations, even though the police locally, finally, I pushed so much, and it was a couple of years ago, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, that they finally stood up against a group of people that was accusing me of this and that, and told them, you'll legally get in trouble if you don't have paperwork. 1, 2, you would still legally get in trouble because you still wouldn't have a legal right to be doing what you're doing, even if he did commit a criminal act against you, or somehow whatever it is that you had a criminal victimization right to it. You still would be in the wrong and criminally, wrongfully, basically harassing, if not assaulting him, verbally, at the least. But yeah, so rambled that one on out there till I lost breath, and getting a little, I won't say spacey, but a little disorganized here, just ready to end the situation. But mental health, all the rest of the stuff. The reason why I ain't reached out for a whole lot of help from a bunch of other people, except for good strangers walking up, knowing that I'm all messed up, is because, I definitely don't have the abilities as most people. I don't have an education. I never graduated school situation. All of the downfalls of society and social life. I am not the greatest person, put it that way. Nor should I have to suffer, though, I would have to say. My fault being blamed. There's too much and too many years, too many incidences for it to be my fault. I should have changed. Well, trying to change, and with proof of trying to change that, and the system should have been cooperative and operative to help that change, or had to have been there. It would be a system situation, government system intervention, and they didn't intervene. Now it's a major problem, because I couldn't do it myself while somebody else is governmentally assaulting me that I need to do it myself. I got to do this. And it's at a systematical misconduct, somebody else's misconduct, after filing a report type of situation, internal affairs getting written up. And I'm not the only story now. I'm not just, I'm egging on you because you're law enforcement government and I want to see what I can get out of it. The situation, it should only take one complaint to be able to have that process to a point, and mind, state, and thought. But no, it took many, majority, and it also took a harshness out of those people to be able to prove it, represent it, and get it represented, because of the thuggish law enforcement working that was pushing back, also threatening the people that they would get in trouble if they tried to pursue any farther. Will come up that you're assaulting us, you're harassing us, and we'll criminally file stuff in court, we'll do this, we'll create havoc also. Well, all that shit got alleviated. I do believe there was people with criminal charges in that situation, and was alleviated after it was convicted for the other stuff. Another white car passing by my house. Anyhow. But getting off that, like I said, I was ending this video and showing, I did take the steps. I shouldn't be held liable or reliable. It's my life. I should have taken care of it. And when I went to take care of it, it's your system still trying to enforce control, to the point I went to your system to get something out of it, and it was misconducted and wrongfully done. That's victimization. That's systematical. And I'll go to United States victimizing. The United States government did not provide the protection that it says its lawfulization and its system works upon. But a lot of people scream that until it gets into belittling, and that's just for a triumph feeling, I guess, because I'm triumphing myself as stating that. Is it legit? Can it be legit? Can it be held solid? I've been under the works sometimes here and there of, did I jeopardize myself somewhere to where I ain't allowed to have that right or the ability to triumph because I don't have the right to enforce it type of situation? It's just like a rape victim. If you don't report the situation and statute of limitations runs up, you don't, at least back in the day, you don't have a right to represent it. You can't really get anything out of it. You have a support group, and they can socially, as a social group, enforce a little bit of socialism and support for you and allow the system to lessen itself on you. But as far as it being full-blown support, you don't get it. Anyways, I just got to end this video. That's that on this. But once again, there goes your Xbox situation being turned on at the time I started this video. So there's that. I'll be uploading this to YouTube, and I also save it to Google, OneDrive, and probably a couple of other places to make sure my libraries don't get hacked, even though they can. And by the time you get involved with government and people trying to enforce, they have just as much power as the government. Well, they have all these abilities, and it wouldn't matter what you're doing unless you wrote it down on paper. And even still, no matter what, systematically represented, it gets into, like the system told me, it is a force of life-threatening conditions then, because they keep just messing around with any abilities that you have socially to live. That's life-threatening, no different than aiming a gun or threatening you that they're going to kill you, because basically that's what it is. Systematical social death. It's killing you systematically without having the abilities, qualities, or opportunities to live by. All the rest, what was I going to add to some of that really quick? And I just spaced it out. And that's another thing. Them talking about lobotomy, and the lobotomy itself are illegal. Now, jokative tones back in the day was a joke, ain't no longer a joke. Lobotomies have been, and I was in the middle of a game, and dude screamed it out. Dude, he said, he wasn't in a bad way. He's like, dude, that shit's been illegal. I'm ex-military, and know this, it was just a lot of sport. He might not have put it exactly that way, but that is severely, since the 80s, illegal. You could have killed Jesus Christ, and they would not have given you a lobotomy, illegal type of situation. Not the bestest way to put it, but in some people's eyes, you see how I said that? That's pretty dang strong. So yeah, just rambling. Ending this video, and hopefully I come up with some more later. I'm going to come up with a video with names, which I'm not allowed to 100% do my ass. I'm going to put the names and relations together. And that also applies to the neighbors that I have, but without egging them on, they're these bad type of people and they do this. No, I'm talking about going back before they even lived around me and still having contact to me. That's the type of bad stuff. That's the connections I'm making. Not, these neighbors are this, such and such, and I feel this way. And the triumph of talking the neighbors down and more or less getting myself in trouble the same way I'm blaming them doing me, doing them. No. Mine is for certain me stating that these people have been around me prior to moving next to me. And also not just in the community and being targeted citywide. We're talking about United States stalking-wide hardcore stuff. Which also would lead into they'd have to have some top body with system government power to help and aid themselves in doing what they're doing. Anyways. Ending this video, peace. It's going to end itself in a minute anyhow, roughly. So I'm just going to end it prior to that. And I am ending this video. It ain't electronically jammed. It's not ending itself by itself prematurely and all the good stuff. So I am pressing stop now.